Hello scholars, welcome back to my YouTube channel English Odyssey. My name is Mahi and today we are going to discuss BGC 112 British Literature Early 20th Century Solved Assignment 2025 and 2026. And I want to share one important thing. Please don't buy your assignment from anywhere. You can use the answers from this video and write them as they are in your assignment. So without any further delay, let's get started with BGC 112. Now let's begin with section A. Section A contains 4 questions and each question carries 10 marks, making a total of 40 question marks. Okay. For each answer, I have kept the length around 200 words, so the answers are detailed enough for a 10-mark question while still staying focused. So let's begin with question 1. The first passage is taken from Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dolby. It focuses on Septimus Smith, a former soldier suffering from severe psychological trauma after the First World War. In this scene, his wife Razia becomes frightened by his behavior and calls Dr. Holmes. Septimus, however, sees Dr. Holmes as a symbol of the insensitive and cruel side of society and calls him a brute. The passage highlights war trauma, mental illness, alienation, and society's failure to understand psychological suffering. Moving on to question 2, this passage is from W.B. Yeats' The Second Coming. Here it describes a frightened vision emerge from Spiritus Mundi. He sees a mysterious creature with the body of a lion and the head of a man. The creature's blank and Patel's gaze creates a disturbing atmosphere and represents the emergence of a terrifying new historical age. Through this imagery, it explores violence, historical change, and the collapse of civilization. Now let's move to question 3, which is from T.S. Eliot Journey of Magi. The Magi finally reach a beautiful valley after a difficult journey. Eliot describes the landscape through images of vegetation, water, trees, and a white horse. These images are not simply descriptions of nature, they also carry Christian symbolism. The trees, for example, can be associated with the crucifixion. The passage therefore reflects spiritual transformation and the connection between birth and death. And now we come to the final question of section A from W.H. Auden, The Unknown Citizen. The passage describes a man who appears to be an ideal citizen because he follows all the expectations of society. He works, marries, has children, and serves his country. But Auden uses irony and satire to question whether this man was actually free or happy. His entire life has been reduced to statistics and official reports, while his personal feelings remain unknown. The passage therefore criticizes bureaucracy, conformity, and the loss of individuality. So, with this, we have completed section A. Now, let's move on to section B. So, scholars, section B has 2 parts. In part 2, there are 4 short note questions carrying 5 marks each. So, I have gave this answer around 100 words. Then in part 3, there are 2 short essay questions carrying 10 marks each and these answers are around 200 words. So, let's start with part 2, question 1. The first short note is on the characteristics of modernist poetry. Okay, modernist poetry breaks away from traditional forms and experiment with free verse, fragmentation, symbolism, and complex imagery. It often focuses on themes like alienation, uncertainty, and the changing modern world. Poets also explores the inner consequence and psychological experience of individual. T.S. Eliot, W.B. Yeats, and Ezra Pound are some important modernist poets. The second short note is on the psychoanalytic reading of Sons and Lovers. The novel can be studied through ideas such as repression, desire, attachment, and the unconscious. Paul Morrell strong emotional attachment to his mother, Gertrude, affect his relationship with Miriam and Clara. His psychological conflicts show how childhood experiences and family relationships can influence an individual's emotional development and adult relationships. Okay, the third short note discusses the experiment plot of Mrs. Dalloway. Virginia Woolf breaks away from a conventional chronological plot and presents the events mainly within a single day in London. However, the narrative constantly moves between the present and the characters' memories and thoughts. Through a stream of consciousness, Woolf connects Clarissa's life with Septem's experience and create a deeply psychological and experiment narrative. The fourth short note focuses on the theme of the journey of the Magi. T.S. Eliot presents the Magi's physical journey as a spiritual journey as well. The difficult journey leads them toward profound transformation. The poem also presents the paradox of birth and death. The birth of Christ represent spiritual rebirth, but also the death of the old religious order. The major themes include faith, suffering, transformation, and spiritual renewal. Now let's move to part 3, where each question carries 10 marks. The first essay asks about the significance of the title I Think Continually of Those Who Are Truly Great. The title expresses Stephen Spencer's admiration of people whose lives had genuine meaning. The word continually shows that the poet repeatedly thinks about such people because their courage, ideals, and achievements continue to inspire others. The poem also challenges the usual idea of greatness. True greatness is not about wealth, fame, or social position, okay, but about courage, sacrifice, selfishness, and the impact a person leaves behind. Therefore, the title perfectly captures the poem's central idea. The people who live meaningful and courageous lives create a lasting legacy for future generations. The second essay discusses class and social mobility in Sons and Lovers. The moral family belongs to the working class. And their social and economic circumstances influence their lives and relationships. Paul's education, artistic interest, and ambitions gradually take him beyond his working class background. His relationship with Miriam and Clara also expose him to different social and cultural environments. However, Paul's movement toward a different social world does not completely free him from his background. He remains emotionally connected to his family and struggles between his working class roots and his desire for independence. Through Paul's experience, Lawrence shows how class affect education, relationship, marriage, work, and identity, making social mobility both an opportunity and a source of conflict. And with this, We have completed section B, both the short note and the short essay. Now let's move on to section. The question asks us to discuss the symbolism in W.B. Yeats' The Second Coming with reference to his cyclical theory of history. Yeats believed that history moves in cycles rather than progressing in a straight line. He explained this idea through the image of gears of spirals. According to this theory, an historical period eventually reaches its extreme point and collapses, making way for another period. The opening image of the widening gear in the poem directly reflects this idea. The poem contains several powerful symbols. The falcon and falconer represent the loss of control and connection, while the phrase "the central cannot hold" represents the collapse of social and moral order. The blood-dimmed tide symbolism violence and destruction, while Spiritus Mundi represents the collective spirit from which it receives its terrifying vision. The most threatening symbols, the sphinx-like rough beast with a lion's body and a man's head. Okay, it represents the new historical age emerging after the collapse of the world Christian order. By sending this creature toward Bethlehem, Yeats reversed the traditional Christian story of Christ's birth. The poem therefore presents history as a cycle of birth, destruction, and renewal, but the new beginning appears threatening rather than hopeful. And with that, we have completed the BEGC 112 assignment. I hope this video helps you prepare your assignment with more confidence and also gives you a better idea of what you need to focus on for your exam. If this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe to English Odyssey and share it with your IGNOU friends. And if you want me to cover another IGNOU assignment, let me know in the comments. Until then, take care. Bye bye.